Welcome back to Poetry and Police. My name is EVON Blake. I am an ex-detective corporal of police. A shout out to my subscribers firstly. Shout out to my friends, shout out to my enemies. Shout out to the good police officers in Jamaica. Not the thieving ones, the good police officers, because I have nothing to do with thieving police and corrupt police officers. Today I'll start by pleading for help for Dajic Henry. Dajic Henry, who has served the Jamaica Constabulary Force for most of his life and would have given most of his athletic life, or should I say most of his gainful life, to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, a police officer who has dedicated his long life service to the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Is currently ill and need the assistance from fellow police officers, whether ex-police officers or serving members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and members of the Jamaican citizens, both in Jamaica and both abroad. So whatever you can do to assist Mr. Henry in his bid for his medical assistance, please do so. There will be a link on the channel where you can reach out to Mr. Henry, and any assistance that you can give towards his recuperation or his medical bills or his medical procedures might be possible. So please reach out and help how you can. You don't have to send a whole lot of money. It can be $10. It can even be $1. Because if more people give $1, then it all adds up. So help Dajic Henry with his medical situation. I plead to you. Because we do that on police and poetry too. We help police officers who are in need, and we help even former police officers who are in need of our help. So please reach out and assist Dajic Henry in any way you can. So let's talk about what I feel like talk about today, what my mind has been clicking me to talk about today. And I've spoken to a subscriber who have had some valid points, that I was even thinking about that too, but I've never placed it on the channel before. I have brought it to you before. But let's talk about crime in Jamaica. Let's talk about some of the measures that the government can put in place to slow down crime in Jamaica. Some of the measures that can put in place to solve crime in Jamaica. Some of the measures that can assist the police in fighting crime in Jamaica and even slow down crime in Jamaica. Because the government needs to identify that crime is a sore point in Jamaica, and it is destroying Jamaica's socio-economic system as we see right now. Jamaica is labeled as a criminal paradise, and as we know that Jamaica is a criminal state, or is becoming a criminal state, and we do not want it as citizens of Jamaica, as police officers and as former police officers, for Jamaica to be destroyed in such a way. So this is some of the measures, in my opinion, that the government can put in place to ensure that crime slow down in Jamaica and to ensure that crime even come to some kind of stop in Jamaica. First of all, the government needs to start invest in crime, invest in the police department, make it their point of duty to invest in national security, ensure that the budget facilitates fighting crime, which has not been going on in Jamaica for years. So it has come to a point now where the government needs to start doing that, because if the government does not do that, then it will be transparent and clear to me that the government is not interested in slowing down crime in Jamaica at any rate possible. First of all, this is how the Jamaican government needs to approach the crime situation in Jamaica as an experienced detective. I'm telling you this. If you have noticed from time to time, there's videos been popping up over YouTube with criminals in Jamaica doing their thing, and they're caught on camera. So if a man is caught on camera committing a crime, then surely you can know that that crime will be solved, whether it be a robbery, whether it be a murder, or any crime, rape, any crime whatsoever. So the government needs to start investing in the police department, investing in crime, in cameras, investing in drones. So you are going to tell me that the government cannot afford a few drones or cannot afford a few cameras. All right, say the government cannot afford cameras to install on all the light posts in neighborhoods and street lights. Then the government should ensure that cameras are installed without them finding the cost. Every business place in Jamaica, every business place, from a shop to a bar, once your business is registered, then you need to install a 360 degrees camera on your office building or your business place. That is what the government of Jamaica needs to start instill in these business operators, that you cannot operate a business in Jamaica without installing a 360 camera on your business place, that the police have to have access to that camera at any time once there's a matter under investigation that needs the input of your camera system. No neighborhood should be built in Jamaica without proper camera system on all the streets, not basically all the street entrances, exits, and at certain points in the community, so that people who are process of doing any type of crime whatsoever, they can be recorded. That is one of the steps that the government needs to address. Because let me tell you this. If people are committing crime and they know that a camera is there, trust me, they're not going to do it right there. So right away, the camera stops a crime from committing in that general area. Cameras should be installed in every prisons, every lockup, every police stations around the country, around the island, should say. There should be cameras, because cameras is the only way forward to help Jamaica solve this crime. Because guess what? Most of the time, you cannot base your investigation off witness statements or what witness saw. Because most of the time, people are so traumatized that they fail to properly identify criminals. And it all depends in court how long they saw the culprit in the act. So, if you have a camera, police officers can always access the camera and go back, and that will help to identify criminals in their act. And I believe that the government of Jamaica should invest in camera system and drone system right away in order to stem the flow of crime in Jamaica. Like I said before, every business place, it should be mandatory that every business place in Jamaica should have cameras. And every apartment complex that is being built, they should have a camera system that is monitored by the security at the security post. If you notice in Jamaica, most of the housing schemes that are built these days are gated communities. So if it's a gated community, then there should be cameras, because you have security at the gates and you have a security office there. So why not install a camera that can assist police in investigation in case a crime occurs in the neighborhood, in front of the neighborhood, or otherwise? So unless this government does not want to stem crime, or unless this government does not want to slow down crime, that would be the only reason why they would not find it prudent or fit or practical to install cameras at every police station to ensure that all businesses upon their application, it should be mandatory that cameras are installed on their properties, especially bars. Most crimes happen around bars. If a crime happens across the street, then the camera on the bar, the front of the bar, can pick up the activity next door because it's a 360 camera. Now, it is fair to say that Jamaica has a shortage of police officers, especially good, hard-working police officers. The government probably would say that they cannot afford to pay more police officers. But this is what the government can do. Unemployment is at a high in Jamaica. And you have a whole lot of people who have graduated colleges, graduated high school, and have no jobs. Why not turn most of these people in district constables? A district constable's salary is far less than a police salary. So therefore, the government would save money and have services rendered at a lower cost. The fact of the matter, in Jamaica, most rural areas have police stations too far from the area. The response time for police officers in some of those rural areas takes over 2 hours, 1.5, 2 hours for police assistance. So therefore, the government should also consider that every community in Jamaica has at least a police post manned or controlled by at least a sergeant and at least 2 detectives, no matter how small the area is. And then the rest of the staff could be residents of the community who are appointed district constables. That's my opinion, and I feel that it could work in stemming crime and violence in Jamaica in most of these communities. That's how I feel. Now, as it relates to cameras and street lights and cameras in communities and cameras in police stations and cameras and bars and all of those things, there are certain things that the government has to put in place. First of all, the government needs to implement new laws as it relates to camera footage and how camera footage is admissible in court. So the government has to have that thing locked in case there's a camera picks up a criminal activity, then it would be admissible in court as evidence number 1. And it can be used against the suspect in the matter. Because truly, let me tell you this. I have seen a video, 2 videos as a matter of fact, more than a whole lot of videos on YouTube. There was a video with that shootout where the Chinese people were abducted. And based off watching that video, my first opinion are based off my experience as a policeman. Watching that video, watching that shootout where police officers were shot, almost killed, I could clearly see that the suspect in that shooting had to be military or police. Those people were highly trained people based off their tactical formation, based off of their shooting formation, and based off how they were moving during the whole shootout. I could have concluded as a detective, as an experienced detective, that these men were highly trained, and the possibility of those men being JDF or JCF was possible 90%. That's how sure I was based off of their actions during the shooting, and that would assist. So therefore, the investigators, upon even concluding what I am concluding right now, can be looking within the police department or the JDF to find the suspects. That is what camera did. No, there was another shooting. A matter of fact, I won't even say it was shooting, it was a murder that was committed in the Walton Park Road area, where the suspects were caught on camera, firing shots and shooting and doing a whole lot of stuff. And I was able to look at the videos and say, hold on, I recognize one of the suspects. See that? And I know that other people from the Walton Park community, as I hail from the Kingston 13 area, would look at that video and say, oh, I know that boy, that boy is Blake, or whatever that boy name is, and could call the police and say, based off that video, I recognize one of the suspects. So now you see how important camera is. And these cameras were not police cameras. They were citizens' cameras owned by citizens, but yet it captured the whole crime. The whole murder was captured on camera. So seeing this, my friends, how can the government not, with all its breath, with all its energy, invest some of taxpayers' money into placing or mounting cameras on specific sections of communities, especially when crime has erupted? Now, this is how we see it in New York City. If crime starts in a certain particular area, gang warfare, then the police would come and set up a camera on the street to view the whole street at the time. And trust me, guess what? The shootings will stop, the murders will stop, because the camera is a deterrent. Nobody wants to be caught on a camera. Everybody knows. Even if the camera is a dud, nobody knows. So, when these cameras are running, or if the cameras are up and running, the government needs to put laws in place to protect these cameras. There has to be laws in place for anybody, any member of the public, or even police officer who damages these cameras or interfere with these cameras. There should be a mandatory jail sentence for doing so, for the breaches of the act. So there has to be an act so people can be charged under various sections of that act in terms of using cameras and drones to assist Jamaica with crime fighting. Because I believe 100% that the input of cameras into our system will help to derail the criminal underworld in Jamaica, because nobody wants to be caught on camera. I am telling you that. You know that a whole lot of police officers working in the cells and working at police stations are up to no good. So if their day-to-day activities is monitored by cameras within the police station or around the perimeter of the station, what do you think will happen? People will desist from doing their criminal activities because they fear of being caught. That guy who escaped the other day from central lockups, if there were a camera system in place, would show everything leading up to his escape. A man who would not even try to escape if he knows that he's on camera. Well, some people are there and he would even try the same way. But I am just saying that to tell you this, that the camera system in Jamaica can work. Previously, I think it was a year, 2 or 3 ago, I can't remember correctly. My memory is not so good, I'm getting old. But I remember that the government was thinking about installing cameras on police officers' uniforms. No, I believe that's a great strategy. I believe that can work. But this is my thing on that. Before you police the police, at least try to police the country. No, I believe that putting cameras on police officers is relevant. But I believe that putting cameras on the streets of Jamaica is far more relevant than putting cameras on police officers' uniform. I think you should put the cameras in the society first before you put the cameras on police officers. Because when you have stem crime, then the next thing that you need to do is stem police corruption by putting cameras on police. And I believe in that. Stop police from assaulting people. Stop police from doing illegal activities, because everything they do, everybody they come in contact with will be videoed. But I believe that should be second to policing the nation. Reduce crime in Jamaica first, then you police the police. Police the nation first. Our nation is getting out of hand as it relates to crime and violence. And I believe that the influx or the input of camera systems on our streets, on our business properties, could play a vital role in stemming the elevation of crime that we now see in Jamaica. Now, on that point, I believe that Jamaica has too much illegal business operating in Jamaica. There are too much illegal businesses, especially bars. Everybody have the intention up to apply for their spirit license. And yet, that thing lasts for years and they still don't have a license. So they are not paying any taxes. That's the other thing. Everybody needs to pay taxes in Jamaica. Not only the civil servants, not only the police officers, not only the teachers, not only the nurse, not only the doctors or the regular person working at an organization, but everybody needs to pay their taxes. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're selling clothes on the streets as a hawk and peddler, you should have a license and you should pay your taxes. That is how I see it in Jamaica. If you're operating a bar, it should be mandatory that a camera has to be installed on your bar. Business place in Jamaica should have a camera at the cost of the proprietor. That is what I believe. And that could help save the government money by using the camera, by putting up cameras on business places, because those are private properties. So every private property that operates a business should have a camera to monitor the going and comings of everybody. So in case a crime happens in any one of those premises or even in front of the premises, then the police can use the camera to assist in their investigation. Jamaica needs to stop. Jamaica, especially our detectives, we need to stop depending on witness statements, on what witnesses see or saw during a crime to solve our crime. We now have to move to an era, because it's a technology era. We have to move to an era where we have to follow the technology and use cameras instead of eyewitnesses. Because most of the time, eyewitnesses' stories are not credible. Because, let me tell you this, in court, defense have a good attorney. The questions will arise, how far were you when the offense was committed? Was it the first time you seen this person? How many times did you look at this person? You have what is called fleeting glance. So you have to see that person probably over 5 seconds or a minute to identify the person properly. That's how the law states. So if the witness is unable to look at that person for a certain amount of time, then the credibility of the witness identifying this suspect is null and void. But it is not so with a camera. Because if a camera picks you up committing an offense and it's zoomed and see your face clearly, then right away you are caught. So, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Minister of National Security, Commissioner of Police, these are some of the ideas, these are some of the things that the government needs to put in place. And I believe the Commissioner of Police, it is time for you to step up as a Commissioner of Police, brethren. It's time for you to act for the people of Jamaica and for the betterment of the Jamaica Constabulary Force by implementing these laws and ensure that they are enforced in order to help you to solve crime in Jamaica. Being an experienced detective, I've seen this. And I know that a whole lot of detectives around the corporate era, especially in the volatile areas of Jamaica, would concur with me that the assistance of cameras will play a vital role in solving some of these crimes, especially if cameras were placed in the neighborhoods which they work, that they can monitor. We have a department in the force, maybe it's control. All the camera feeds go to control or at the station level. Then, therefore, we can always look back at the camera and say, listen, Tom Strokes did that. There's his face. We zoom it. We recognize him. And on that note, the government needs to also ensure that everybody is born in Jamaica, that a profile is created, a fingerprint profile, a photo profile at every age, so we can know people in our society, so the police can know people. So if your fingerprint appears somewhere, the fingerprint will not just go unnoticed because you are in the system. So we have to get everybody in the system from birth, fingerprints, so we can have people recorded in the system. So when you shall have reached a certain age and you're committing offenses, then if you leave your fingerprint anywhere, you will be picked up. These are some of the things the government needs to put in place to help solve crime. Too many criminals are breaking into people's premises, stealing cars, breaking into cars, leaving fingerprints. And when you run the prints, it comes back empty because they're not in the system. So the government needs to find a mandatory system so all citizens are in the system. And if you do not have citizens in the system, then how are you going to find people who breaks into other people's houses and breaks into other people's cars and leave their fingerprint? That is all I am saying. The government of Jamaica have a responsibility to the people of Jamaica, to the citizens of Jamaica, to the good citizens of Jamaica. The government also have a responsibility to the police department in Jamaica, not to control the police department at their will, but rather to assist the police officers in whatever tools they need to make their jobs easier, in whatever tools they need so they can solve crimes within a certain time of it committing. How many time do we have to solve a murder? In Jamaica, you have one detective to 100 murders. How is that even possible? How can that one man solve so many murders? That is what I am saying. Every murder needs a team of detectives. At least 3 detectives to 1 murder. That is how it should be. That should be the ratio, 3 to 1 on the side of the police, not 100 to 1 on the side of the murders. When I was a corporal and working at Huntsby, every murder that happens on my shift was me. And if there was not another supervisor at Olympic Gardens or Seaview Gardens or any other police division, I am a senior person in the division. I have to take those murders. If it's 5 murders for the day, then that 5 murders would have belonged to me. How the hell can one detective solve 5 murders in one day? Can even try to start to solve 5 murders that happen today alone, and not even to mention tomorrow. So we need more personnel. We need people to be trained. We need people to be trained as detectives. And I have seen that the organization on a whole is losing interest in our detectives. We are not training detectives enough. We are not arming the detectives with the tools that they need to carry out their duties. They even said one point, detectives are not supposed to patrol. Come on. A detective patrol is far more effective at any day, I will tell you this, more than a uniform patrol. Because guess what? Detectives are always the people who knows the criminals and knows what they are looking for. No detective patrol without knowing what they are looking for. That is how the detectives are. So the government need to invest in detectives. They need to invest in the detectives with the tools that they need to solve the crimes in Jamaica. And until the government start giving the police the tool to solve the crimes in Jamaica, then Jamaica's crime problem will never solve. Everybody forget caught on camera. Even the Prime Minister, if I so be the case. Nobody in Jamaica should be protected by a politician or by the police department when it comes to crime and violence. I believe that if you commit the crime, you should do the time. Mr. Prime Minister, I am leaving that up to you. The Commissioner of Police, I'm leaving that up to you. As a Commissioner of Police, I believe that it's full time that you take the helm in the fight against crime. I believe that it's time that you show the Jamaica Constabulary Force that you are indeed a Commissioner of Police who's willing to go the extra mile in convincing the government that this is what the police department needs to solve crime. You need to show the Jamaica Constabulary Force's members, especially hardworking, honest ones, that you are for the police department and for the people in Jamaica, and not just for the politician who placed you in the office. I believe, sir, that you should start doing your job as a Commissioner of Police without any favor or affection, brethren. And you should not care whether the Prime Minister want like you or not, whether the Prime Minister want fire you or not for doing your job. You should do your job without their input. Finally, the members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force needs a neutral commissioner, a commissioner that his drive is to stop crime in Jamaica at any cost necessary, even his post. It is not, remember, Commissioner, it's not about you. It's about the members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. And in the end, it's about the good citizens of Jamaica. Solving crime, Commissioner, starts with you. If the Jamaica Constabulary Force is failing in stemming crime and violence in Jamaica, then, sir, you are failing. I will say it again, sir. Then you are failing, and you should be kicked out of your seat, or you should retire in the interest of the public, or retire because you are not doing your job.